We need some more food up on the empty plate. Long time we there and we sit down and wait. Sun Splash restaurant I run the place. Everybody be say just want a taste, yeah.
Let your food be a medicine. Eat well, live longer. I'm David Shepard and I endorse this commercial.
This set is real low.
You want to answer that, don't you?
This one is good.
I bet it's killing you, seeing that soft glow just inches away. Hey, someone wants to tell you something, or maybe ask you something.
Let me check it out in a second.
Oh, come on, answer it already. Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner thoughts. Don't text and drive. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Council and your friends here at Splash Radio.
Splash Radio, 94.3, New Jersey, Red.
Well, I don't know, so Mr. G represent for 94.3 FM Splash Radio. We'll just splash out the music on them.
Initialize sequence now.
Your attention, please. This is no ordinary show. Covering news and information for Essex County, New Jersey, and beyond. This is the Eric Dawson Radio Show. Broadcasting from 94.3 Splash Radio. Now, here's your host, giving it to you like only he can. It's Eric Dawson.
Hey, this is Eric Dawson, and this is the Eric Dawson Radio Show, 94.3 FM. Call-in number 973-457-8000. Again, 973-457-8000. If you're listening through your mobile device, it's 213-493-0287. Again, it's 213-493-0287. And I'm assuming we're streaming live on Facebook, so check us out. And we're streaming live every day from 10 to 12. And I'm here on Tuesday with my co-host, Rashon Hasan. How you doing today, brother?
I'm blessed. Good morning, brother. How you doing today?
I'm hanging in there, man. I can't complain. Well, I can, but I won't. You know, I mean, I wish the sun was shining, but you know, we'll be there at some point. You know, we do need the rain. Soon enough, we'll be complaining that there's a drought, right? That we didn't get enough water, and that the reservoirs are emptying, and all that kind of stuff. So
the cycle constantly repeats itself.
So what's on the docket today, man? There's a lot going on. You called in yesterday. Oh, what did you think about Sudan Thomas yesterday?
Man, I thought having him on the show was excellent, man. He and I actually communicated via text message yesterday evening.
Okay.
And I'm looking forward to connecting with him so we can really talk about bringing more school boards together to help, you know, figure out how we can improve our school districts. I mean, he has a very good perspective on things. I love the fact that his conversation was policy based for the most part. We got into that conversation about who's leading their instructional committee out there in Jersey City. I mean, I just love the fact that he has so much excitement about this person who's leading that committee. And, you know, he said this woman's a rock star.
A rock star, man.
Yeah.
We all deserve to have rock stars.
Absolutely.
You know, and so one of the things that we did talk about yesterday was, you know, that we may have gotten rid of, I don't know if we would call her a rock star, but she certainly is. I think she's a graduate from Duke, right? I'm talking about Leah Owens.
I'll have to go to her. Actually, I can see. Let me check this out.
But I think she's a graduate, and well, I know she graduated college. right? Unlike the gentleman who is now replacing her. And you know, we've had that conversation, and I don't think that we that we ever get tired of having the conversation about my man Reggie Bledsoe, who, again, I want to continue to say, you know, personally, I like him. His character is questionable, simply because he's living a lie right now.
So Leah Owens, she actually is a graduate of Duke University.
A graduate of Duke University.
She's earned her bachelor's degree in English from Duke University, and also holds a master's degree in public administration with an emphasis on educational policy, and is certified to be a public school principal.
And with all of that, they removed her, and they replaced her with Reggie Bledsoe, who doesn't have a degree, who lied about having a degree, and the gentleman who replaced her, you know, I called him illiterate yesterday on Facebook, and was accused of being immature because I referred to the current chairman of the North. I can't even get that out of my mouth, man. The current chairman of the North Board of Education, Marquise Lewis, and there were several people, some of whom I was quite disappointed came into the thread and challenged my assertion that he's illiterate, at the very least can't read above a 6th grade reading level, that he is making decisions like that. But then it came to my attention that the decision that he made to do that was not in accordance to the policy of the North Board of Education, that it wasn't it was in his purview as a chairman to actually remove somebody as a chairperson of a committee, and to also replace somebody as a chairperson, but that was the responsibility and duty of the committee members themselves. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. There's a policy, it's actually listed in the bylaws for the North Board of Education. It's policy number 9130, which specifically states that the president of the board, in conjunction with the superintendent, should formulate the appointments for board members to serve on committees. However, it is then up to those committee members to elect the chairperson of the board. And I would say that there's a culture on the board in which the presidents, present and former, have actually taken it upon themselves to appoint board members to posts such as, committee chair of the program instructional committee or the finance committee, etc. And as I stated yesterday, when I served as the president of the North Board of Education, I followed that policy to the T. I made appointments to the committees. However, those committee members themselves sat in a room and actually nominated and elected the person that would then go on and serve as the chairperson for that committee. And I also shared that information with the board prior to that decision being made. For me, I thought it was important to make that decision because when I was taking that position as the president of the board, I remember, one of our board colleagues stating that they were tired of the politics. And the politics that they were talking about at that time was, the deal making. You support me for being the president of the board, and I will then in turn, make you the chairperson of this committee or that committee. And, I thought that was a good way for us to set a strong foundation to show, the community and everybody that's watching that our board was really focused on doing the work, and that we weren't going to play those kind of politics, and that we were going to be focused on great governance and effective policy making. And that's what I try to use that as a foundation to do so.
Well, there was an article that came out last year. I think it was last year, maybe it was the year before last, in NJ.com, where the question was raised whether or not the board could function independently, whether it could be a non-political board in terms of the impact from county and city influences. And there were board members who said, yeah, they could, vote in the best interest of the community and leave municipal and county politics out of it. But you got a question now when you see exactly what's going on. that may not in fact be the case, that you have a guy who decided that he was going to once again run roughshod over policy, rules, and regulations. And I want to stop for a second and say that in 1995, when the Board of Education was taken over by the state, a lot of it had to do with the fact that policies and procedures were not being adhered to.
Yeah, and that's true, and that continues to be the issue. And I think what's really sad about that is that, individuals have not necessarily learned that lesson. Effective school boards, they're really focused on policy making and then ensuring that those policies that are in place are actually used to guide the decision making as they move forward and try to improve student achievement within their school district. So when you have individuals who are put in leadership positions and they don't respect the policies that are in place, or don't know enough to go and read the policy to help that in their decision-making process, we should all be concerned when we see things like that.
Well, that's the other thing, and we mentioned that when we were unpacking on Education Week, that there were probably quite a number of the candidates who probably didn't even know that there was a policy manual, but those who did haven't read it. And so again, we're talking about the current chairman, who's now served 2 terms, and he served as vice president of the Board of Education. And for him not to have in all of that time have read the policy manual and at least understand, and he has worked within the committees on the Board of Education, and he saw the process, right? He saw how the committee members voted for chair persons of those various committees. And so why he would believe that he could, what does Kevin refers to as hubris, right? That the unmitigated gall, if you will, to simply say, I'm going to do it the way that I want to do it. I don't give a damn what the voters, what the parents, what the children may suffer as a result of it. And in fact, if you read my post yesterday, I put in a screenshot of what the chairman said. He said, I'm the chairman. I did it because that's what I did. And so that nothing to do with anything else. I want to do this, and I'm going to do it. But I don't think that he did it. I personally think, and here's the other piece. For all of the bravado that these guys march around with down at 920 Broad Street, why doesn't the mayor just come out and say that he's got his hand up the rectum of the board president and he's moving his lips and he's getting him to vote in the ways that he wants him to vote, or put people in the positions that he wants to, and out of vindictiveness. So that's what's going on. This is puppeteering that's occurring, in my opinion. I'm always welcome for people to call in and prove me wrong, but in my opinion, it's puppeteering and it's vindictiveness. I think it's still the culture of bashing and attacking women. I believe that Leah Owens, when she mentioned on the day that Marquise was voted the chairman of the board, that not only did he not earn it, but that it was an affront to the women on the board. I think that she alluded to what we all have been witnessing over the last 3 years, that whether it's 920 Broad Street or that culture spills over to 2 Cedar Street, there is an attack on women and women leadership in the city of Newark. And I think that you all really, take a look at it. Take a look at the lawsuit of counsel that was removed by the mayor. Take a look at the communications director that was removed by the mayor, another female. Take a listen to a previous show that we did where we had Munira on, and she talked about how the chief of staff, ran down on her in City Hall because she dared to open her mouth and speak truth to power regarding what this administration is doing. There is, and then now look at what's going on here. You got a woman who's got a bachelor's degree and a master's. She's a graduate from Duke University, one of the finest universities in the country. She is the only qualified and certified candidate on the Board of Education to be able to serve as principal of a school in Newark, and you remove her.
Yeah. So, the problem with this...
I'm sorry, I went on.
I get it. So we have multiple issues here. One, we have a clear violation of policy. And, I will also add that as a former board member who served in that role as president, when I first came into the board, the culture was that the president was making those appointments. So Marquise isn't he's not the first person to violate that policy, and by no means does it make it right. But again, it goes to the culture, and if we're serious about restoring local control and local governance, you can't have a board or a board president or a chairperson or anyone who's stepping outside of their scope of responsibilities and their authority. As a president of the board, you have one vote. You're one person, you have one vote. You do not have the authority to go out and make appointments for committee chairpersons. You do have the authority to collaborate and to appoint board members to the respective committees, but as this policy is written, there's no authority for the board to actually nominate or to appoint, rather, individuals to serve as committee chairpersons. And if this is something that the board wants to change, then they need to go back and revisit their policy manual and make some amendments to the existing policies that are on the book.
So let me ask you a question. If it's not policy, if it's not in the policy manual, and he does it, and he's in violation of the policy, what is the recourse?
Well, I would think that the recourse, I think that the board members would be well within their rights to submit a request to the State Board of Education and to the Ethics Commission to advise them that the president of the board is in violation of the current policies that exist, because the policy clearly states that the chairperson should be elected by the committee members and not appointed by the president of the board.
And so now, is it just the board members that can send that letter, or can the state-appointed superintendent send the letter as well?
State-appointed superintendent, anyone who wants to file a letter or submit information advising that a board member is in violation of policies and they want to submit something to the Ethics Commission or committee, anyone is well within their rights and they can do that.
So a citizen can do it.
You can do it if you wanted to.
Okay. So what I would suggest, guys, is this. And then, you know what, maybe we'll do it from the Eric Dawson radio show. But what I would like to see, and we can do it, but what I would like to see is leadership step up.
Yeah.
Right. I would like to see I would like to hear from Chris Cerf on this matter. I would like to also hear from the other board members, and in particular, I'd like to hear from Leah Owens.
Yeah, I would too. And I would say there was some controversy last year about some things that Leah Owens did on the board. I think at times she may have been seen as like a bit of a wild card, kind of stepping out on her own. But I want people to understand that as a board member, you don't lose your individuality, right? You're still an individual. You still have a voice to speak out or to speak for things that you're in support of or to speak out against things you're against. But you do not have the authority to act on behalf of the board, right? So that's a big difference, and oftentimes people get smacked on the hand or they're punished. Or
so give me an example of it, because you spoke about that yesterday when we had Sudan Thomas on, and you said that as a board member you're still an individual. You can go out and you can speak as an individual, but you can't speak on behalf of the board. So explain to the listeners the difference between that.
So the difference would be, if a board member stepped out and let's say they spoke to a news reporter. I'll use the example of the lead, right? That was an issue in Newark. And other cities throughout the state. But if a board member was to speak to a member of the press, they would have to preference their remarks by stating, I am not speaking on behalf of the board. I'm speaking as such and such, right? A member of the board. The only person that's actually authorized to speak and represent the voice of the board as a whole is the president, right? And you know, that doesn't preclude a board member from going out and holding a press conference. When I was the president of the board, the vice president at that time, Mariana Perello, she put together a press conference down at City Hall, you know, which was to speak out against the Universal Enrollment One North plan at the time. And I believe they also asked for the resignation of the former superintendent, Cammy Anderson. I, however, did not attend the press conference, but Ariana and a few other board members did, and they were not acting on behalf of the board. They were exercising their right to go out and, you know, and take a citizen. Yep, and as a public servant as well. Mm-hmm. Right? So you don't lose your voice when you become a member of the board, but you can't act on behalf of the board. So another example would be an individual board member, but under no circumstances should be out having conversations about, you know, a contract or, you know, speaking with a vendor about the business of the board, right? Because that's not what you do. That has to be moved or in a public setting, and it's not a conversation that one individual can take ownership of. That's a conversation that requires the input and feedback from the entire board. So those are the differences. And, you know, going back to this particular situation, to me, there's no justification as to why you would not have this person with these qualifications continuing to lead that committee. I don't know of, you know, this individual. I don't know of Leah Owens not being able to stand on her own and not do the work that was required of her when she was serving in this post last year. And if something changed or something happened during that period which she was not being effective, then, you know, I think we should know that as a community. But again, when you look at the qualifications, and we also understand that in the realm of local control, when we look at the area of program and instruction, this is the area that the North Public School District has performed the worst. We perform the worst in this area, and what that says to me is that we constantly have to make sure that we're fine-tuning things, and that we have the appropriate people serving in those positions. You can't just put a person over a committee or even appoint them to a committee because they think they know about finance. So I'm going to put a person over here on the finance committee. They could barely balance their checkbook, let alone manage a $1.2 billion budget. It's not about a person's personal interest and what they want to do. It's about the needs of the community. But that's what it's supposed to be about. That's what it's supposed to be about. We should be aligning these individuals up to these committees based on their skill sets. Because that's what you ran off of, right? What you were able to bring to the community and bring to the district. We didn't go out here and elect people so that you can get that on-the-job training experience to try to manage those things. We wanted you to bring your experience to the table. And in fact, they talked about having that experience, right? When they campaigned during debates, they talked about having the experience to be able to lead. Absolutely. Right? So they didn't say, you know what, I want to get on the job and I'm going to learn these things once I get there. We're going to have some bumps in the road. We're going to have a learning curve. They didn't say that. They said, I am qualified. I'm immensely qualified. But here becomes my, you know, my frustration. Outside of, because these candidates are not, or these board members are not acting in a bubble, right? You have, whether you're talking about faith-based leaders in the community, you're talking about other elected officials in the community, and none of them are speaking out about this. Yeah, and honestly, I think a lot of it is because they're afraid. You know, we've now been just dumbed down to the point that we just accept anything. You know, we're constantly in this space. So we have a mayor getting slapped around. Let's not even get to the mayor on this right now. I want to keep it here to these individuals who are operating, who are working in this space, who've been elected to serve. When you got elected to serve in that position, you weren't asked to drop your opinion off at the front door. You were not asked to remove your tongue from your mouth. You were, however, asked to step up and do what's in the best interest of our children. So if things are happening and they are not in the best interest of our children, then you need to be speaking out against that. If you have someone who's in place and they're bypassing policies that are on the books, guess what? You need to be vocal and you need to be speaking out against those things. You cannot allow those things to happen. If it happens once, it'll continue to happen again and again.
And why do you think they're not acting on it?
I think because individuals are scared.
Scared of what?
Scared of whatever repercussions might come. Sometimes people are scared to be ostracized. And guess what? If you are afraid of a little bit of conflict, if you are afraid to be seen as a rebel rouser, guess what? We need rebel rousers. We need people that are going to push back against the status quo. If we want to improve our school district and we want things to be better for our children, we cannot sit back and continue to accept the same rhetoric, the same actions over and over again.
Calling number 973-457-8000. You're listening to the Eric Dawson Radio Show with co-host, former chairman Rashon Hasan. Let me ask you a question. Do you know how many board members, current board members, are employees of either City Hall or the county? We did talk about during the last election that there were two board candidates, the majority, who were legislative aides for council members.
Yeah. So if you look at the current makeup of the board, I would say at least 5 of them have positions either with the county or with the local municipality.
And so when we talk about fear, it was a rhetorical question for me, because the fear is that you'll lose your job. Yeah. That's one. And then the second thing is you have a lot of board members who have higher aspirations. So their aspirations are not just to be a board member. They're thinking about one day being a council person, or thinking about being an assembly person or a freeholder or something like that. And that carrot is being dangled in front of them, and they're making decisions that are not in the best interest of the community and these children for hopes of greater personal gain.
But look, Eric, we all have aspirations. If you don't have aspirations, then something's wrong with you, right? The fact of the matter is, you signed up for a job. Do your job, damn it. You can't be concerned about the job that's 5 years ahead of you if you're doing a piss poor job in the position that you're currently in.
But of course you can. In this environment, you can do exactly that, because what happens is we see that people who do piss poor work get advancements, and people who are qualified, like Leah Owens, gets kicked to the curb. So we see a precedent for that exact thing happening. So there's no impetus for me then to say, you know what, I'm going to do a stellar job because I'm going to be considered and looked at as being somebody who's supremely competent and qualified to do whatever it is that I'm applying for. That's not what they do. That is not the culture, and it is the very thing that we continue to talk about. But the only reason I brought up the mayor, because yes, the board members, they need to step up, they need to get off their knees, they need to have backbone. Outside of that, I'm disappointed. I'm angry, I'm disappointed, I'm all of those things in the mayor, because the mayor ran as an educator. He ran for his position as mayor as an educator. He continued to pound the fact that he was a vice principal, he was a principal, and that he was going to be instrumental in putting his thumb on the scales of changing the trajectory of education in the city of Newark. That's what he ran on. And he is the very one right now who is going around and threatening and intimidating all of these people, right, to make the bad decisions that they're making. So I would love for this mayor, who is this supreme educator, who was a vice principal and a principal, to explain to me why he's not outraged that the current chairman of the Board of Education removed Leah Owens and replaced her with Reggie Bledsoe. He should be outraged, because he understands more than anybody else. He should, right? He should understand how detrimental that is to the educational system in Newark.
Yeah, and I think it's important for us to clarify, make sure that our listeners are fully aware of why this conversation is taking place. This conversation that we're having right now is not taking place because we don't like a person, we have clashes, personality conflicts. This conversation is happening right now because there was a clear violation of policy. That's what it's all about.
Well, it's about that, one, but it's also about the fact that we're clamoring for local control.
Yes.
And we understand why state took over in the first place.
Yes.
And we're repeating right now, before we even have local control, we're repeating the same behavior. I want you guys to understand that. So when Reggie Bledsoe said, I want you to listen, remember, guys, you got to listen to the words. Words matter, right? Remember Reggie Bledsoe when he was at the debate that was held by the greater, what was it, the charter school North Trust. He stood up and said, not only do I want to get local control back, I want to keep local control. Remember, he said that. Those words came out of his mouth. I want to get local control, I want to keep local control. But Reggie Bledsoe has found himself smack dab in the middle of a clear violation of policy and ethics on the Board of Education. I want you to understand that. That's why we're talking about this.
Well, let me tell you what I would do. If I was put in that position and I knew there was a clear violation, there's two things here. One is the violation, and there's also understanding where your strengths are and what your skill set is. There's no way that I, given my skill set and my background, would have been able to go into that room and accept being appointed to serve as the chairperson of a program and instruction committee, knowing damn well.
But Reggie's a liar.
Knowing damn well.
But Reggie's a liar.
I'm not knowing damn well.
But Reggie's a liar. But see, we got to go back to his character. See, you can't take our conversations here out of context. See, you have character, and that character is what guides you, Rashon. He has no character. He lied, and he continues to live a lie every single damn day. So when he goes into a room as a man with no character. He goes into a room as a man who is a liar. He goes into a room willing to take on another lie. And so now what he has said to you as another lie is, I'm qualified to do this job. So he's going to continue to lie. So the guy who said, listen, I want to get local control, keep local control, I want transparency, he is the biggest liar right now sitting there on the Board of Education. It's not about hate, guys. It's about looking at it for what it is. These are words that came out of his mouth. These are words that came out of the mouths of those folks who are sitting there on the board right now. And for all of you who were protesting and marching and screaming and hollering for local control, how do you reconcile the two things? How do you now know? You know it now. You know that they're in violation. And that the reason control was taken away was for repeated violations. So now you know they're in violation. And you're not screaming about that. You're still screaming about local control. Do you understand? So I can keep going about the administration. I can keep going about the elected officials. But at some point, we have to turn the mirror on you all. Because you all are sitting down on your jobs. You have a job to do too. Once you have the information, it is imperative that you act on it for the betterment of the community and for these children.
Yeah. So we actually have a guest here with us this morning.
Oh, you want to go get him?
Yeah, I want to bring our guest in.
Bring him
Mr. Darryl Scipio, who is the founder of the North Chess Club. And he's going to spend some time with us this morning, letting us know about the work he's doing in the North community.
I look forward to him coming in, while you go get him. But listen, guys, while he goes and gets him, if there's anything that I'm saying that's not true, anything, then tell me, call in. But there's nothing that I'm saying that's not true. You have these folks with these whisper campaigns going around, having whatever issues they have with me. Those are personal issues. And these guys and gals, they have hidden agendas as well. I have no hidden agenda. I don't want a job. I don't want a contract. I don't want any of that. All I want to see is our children be able to compete for these 21st century jobs. See, so when you say, and how do you reconcile this too? When you talk about the fact that you want to see a decreased number of crime and murders and all of those things in our community, but you're not willing to step up and do this work, how do you reconcile that? You guys are in complete conflict with yourselves. You're hypocrites. You're living a lie yourself. And I'm just going to tell you the way that it is. That's why our community is the way that it is. Because everybody, all of you, the elected leaders, the selected leaders, the faith-based community, the electorate, you're all living a lie. I'm sorry. I'm done.
It's all good. So I want to introduce for you all. Introduce to everyone.
Pull up, man. Yeah, pull up closer.
So we have with us this morning Brother Darryl Scipio, the founder of the Newark Chess Club, who's been gracious enough to bless us with his presence this morning. Doing a lot of great work in the community. If you would just take a few minutes to introduce yourself to our listeners and our viewers who are with us today.
Good morning. How's everybody today? My name is Darryl Scipio. I'm the executive director of the Newark Chess Club. We're a mentorship program, and we use chess to teach life skills and to help young people make better decisions. And we work to provide mentor-mentee relationships for our students.
So, for our listeners, I think Abdul Rashid is asking what's the call-in number. The call-in number is 973-457-8000. Again, that's 973-457-8000. And we're live here. We have Darryl Scipio in the studio with us. Shout out to Edward Johnson, the fourth, shouting out Darryl Scipio this morning, Leadership North classmate. Yes. Also, Deborah Mapson, who said that you're just doing amazing work in the community. So, Darryl, what got you started with the Newark Chess Club?
We started the Newark Chess Club a few years ago. We incorporated in 2009, but I think that there was one event that really moved me forward with speed and with emotion and with direction. And that event is a phone call that I received. I got a phone call a few months after I graduated from law school at Rutgers Newark. A brother of mine asked me if I could represent his nephew, and at the time I hadn't even taken the bar exam yet, so I was in no position to do that. But I asked him what was going on, and he told me that his nephew had a 17-year-old kid from Newark robbed a jewelry store in a mall in Connecticut, and got arrested in Connecticut, never even made it out of the mall parking lot. And I just, the conversation stayed with me for a long time, because it made me ask myself, one, what made this kid think that this was a good idea? He clearly didn't think it through. And two, where was this kid's mentor? That person that he could talk to about life. We started the Newark Chess Club to address those two questions. Mm-hmm. And I started it with two other people, volunteers. We were all volunteering. We didn't think that it would get to the point where it is now, where we're in 16 elementary schools. We have large tournaments. We're hosting our first summer camp this year, and we're trying to make an impact on transforming a young person's life through a life skills curriculum that focuses on character development while they're learning and building a relationship with a mentor.
Now, what differences do you see in these students who participate in the North Chess Club? You know, if there's a student who's in your program from the beginning of the school year to the end, what are some of the differences that you see in this student as it pertains to their character development?
That's a great question. When we start the program, we teach the chess skills. So chess is a game that makes you think ahead. It makes you plan 4 and 5 moves ahead. So as we start to teach children how to play chess, we see the light bulbs going off, and they start to think, well, if I do this, then that will happen.
Critical thinking.
Absolutely. So that's critical thinking is certainly the first thing, but that also is followed by planning and by understanding the consequences of your actions and how to focus and how to think strategically and how to set goals and achieve them, how to take advantage of situations for your betterment, and those are some of the life skills that we see in students. But then teachers will tell us that their students are a lot more focused in class.
Well, that's what I was going to get to. So with all of what you are doing in the club, when they get to school, how does that change the performance? Are you guys looking at metrics to see, greater attendance, greater graduation rates, higher test scores, those kinds of things? Are you guys looking at that data?
We are primarily looking at a student's behavioral changes. If the school is seeing that type of stuff that you're talking about, then they are letting us know.
Okay.
We are not tracking that on
not on your end, but I'm saying right. But I'm saying if they're seeing it, they're letting you guys know.
Some schools are absolutely seeing that type of change, a change in like the number of fights that a particular student may get in is decreasing, and classes that are involved in the program tend to be a little bit calmer as they move through the program.
So because I would say, would you agree, Rashon, that there's some key metrics that should be looked at?
Absolutely.
That would bode well in terms of marketing what it is you guys are doing and actually working with the Board of Education in developing a curriculum that says, you know what, we are clear that hey, this is local radio, man. Yeah, we keep pushing, man. Whatever's going on, people making money. But do you understand what I'm saying? So because I would want to know as a parent, I might not be a chess lover as a parent, but if I knew the skills that my child would acquire by learning chess and how those skills play out in their academic life as well as in real world, then I might be inclined to say, hey, go do that. You're not gonna, I'm not trying to have you become the next Bobby Fischer, right? That's not the goal. The goal is all the things that you talked about. And I'll tell you, I'm an avid chess player. I've been playing since I was 9 years old. And I think I'm pretty good. But I can tell you that I have used everything that I've learned in the game of chess. That's my life. I look at those squares on the board, I look at those pieces, and I'm developing them every single day. And that's how I live my life. And so I can tell you that it works.
And that's the absolute goal of the program. Like you said, you hit the nail right on the head. We're not trying to create the next chess champion. We are trying to build character in our young people using this, this simple game, and it's been effective from what we can tell.
the first thing that stood out to me when you and I sat down, Darryl, was the correlation between those life skills and student discipline. Like, we've been hammering student discipline, on the show. I would say every other week we're talking about school discipline. There's an article that we see, a publication that's coming out every week or every other week that really speaks to the disproportionate suspension rates amongst African American and Latino students in the public education space. And I mean, for me, the first thing that's popping into my mind is conflict resolution, right? Thinking of alternate strategies to deal with these situations that students may face or be challenged with when they're in the public education system. So, I mean, and just looking through the comments that we're getting from our viewers at home, a couple of them are already saying this needs to be implemented throughout the city, throughout the district. We have Yolanda Johnson, who said there's a community school initiative meeting this evening at Shabazz from 5 to 7. Bring the club so you can come to the discussion table. And it seems just for this informed class that they understand the power and the benefit of having a great program like this in the school, and how it really is correlated to restorative justice and positive discipline practices, as Yolanda Johnson just stated. So we need to continue this work, and you've done something really well the last 4 years. This is the 4th annual Newark Chess Club's annual tournament that's going to be hosted on June 10th at the Marion Bolden Student Center. So for community members who've felt that the Marion Bolden Center has not been fully utilized over the last few years, know that Brother Darryl Scipio is making sure that it's going to be live and in full effect on June 10th as he puts on the 4th annual Newark Chess Tournament. It's the Amiri Baraka Chess Tournament, correct? It's the Amiri Baraka Memorial Chess Tournament. Amamu had a profound effect on my life as a young person growing up. I grew up in East Orange, but I was always in Newark. And I was wondering how I could do my best to honor him and honor his legacy. So I decided to hold a chess tournament.
Was he a chess player?
I don't think he was a chess player, but we all have to stay in our lanes, right? So
that's okay. But he certainly was a strategist.
Yeah, so I honored him in that way, and it's been great. Every year we show the students right before we start the tournament. We show the students one of his poems, a video of him saying one of his poems. Last year we showed "Why Is We American" to 100 students that may never have seen him perform, or may not have known that he was a poet or the poet laureate of the state of New Jersey, or an Obie Award winner, and it's just our way of giving back and educating young people about one of Newark's greatest sons as well.
Excellent. Let's take this call. Hello, caller, you on the air?
This is Abdul Rashid. Am I on the air?
You are.
Yes. How's it going, Eric? How you been doing?
I'm doing well. Are you speaking? Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me? My question is, being that America has such a way of modulating hope towards the black race or the young black men, young black women, how does the chess club address that moral deficiency, because America modulated in such a way that people who have less have more of an opportunity of struggle? So when they dealing with the strategies in chess, how do they infuse that to lift up the moral attributes of the young individual so they can apply those applications in life?
All right, you want to take that? You want me to go first?
Okay, go ahead. Well, chess is a game that there are specific life skills that you can glean from the game. Patience and strategy, focus, things like that. And I think to address your question, chess is an honest game. And you asked about morality, and the rules force you to be honest, and the rules of the game also show you the type of person that you are based on how you play the game. So, you know, if you don't think before you move, that's how you're gonna, in life, that's how you're gonna play chess, and you're gonna lose quickly. If you don't understand the sacrifice and what it means, then, you know, you're going to you might lose a chess game, and that also reflects how you live your life. Sometimes you have to sacrifice, you know, partying for study. You know.
So what I'll say is this, to try to answer your question too, the way I look at it, the way I live my life with chess. If you don't understand the game of chess, right, you might look at a pawn and devalue that pawn, right? And you look at a rook and you give a great deal of that. Now, in terms of points, the pawn is worth fewer points. But depending upon how you're developing your life and how you're developing these pieces, that pawn may have greater leverage at a given moment than a rook or even the queen has. And so if you predispose yourself to devaluing one piece simply because of its stature at the beginning of the game, then you don't give yourself the best chance to win at the end. So you have to look at all of the pieces and recognize that at any given time, one of them you may be able to lean on that piece that at the beginning you thought was, you know, a crappy piece that had no value. That may be the piece that saves your life at the end of the game.
That's right.
Now let's unpack that a little bit more and think about that in the context of relationships and how we go about building relationships. And how we see individuals, right? We look at individuals, and I think this is a problem that folks have sometimes. They tend to build relationships with people because of the person's stature and where they are, but not realizing or recognizing that the average person can probably do just as much for you depending on the circumstances or the situation that you're in. So if you looked at as your everyday person as being the pawn, we're not spending a lot of time building relationships with people like that. We're trying to go for the individuals that have the position, that have the stature, the rooks, the bishops, the queens, and again, failing to realize that the average person can be just as beneficial to you.
Well, that pawn, you push that pawn all the way down the board, that pawn becomes whatever you want it to be.
That's right.
Do you understand? So thank you for the call. Let's take another call. Hello, caller?
Hey, this is Sidney Barnes. How are you?
Oh, hey, man.
Good. Is it a good time for us to talk, or you want me to call back?
Yeah, call back in the 11 o'clock hour, Sidney. Sidney's calling. I want him to talk about this program. He's another guy who's doing great work in the community. So, Sid, call back in the 11 o'clock hour. Thank you.
I sure will.
So, Sidney's doing great work in the community, and we'll get to that when the time comes. But these are the kinds of ways you can apply that chessboard to the way you think about life.
Absolutely. And let's see if we have any questions.
Oh, well, one of the questions was the age range.
The program usually is in classrooms now. We're in after-school programs and rec centers, and the age range is about from 6 years old to, I'd say, about 14 or 15. The chess camp that we're doing this summer, we're going to focus on age 8 to 13.
And let's talk about, since you mentioned it, let's talk a little bit about the camp. Community, it's that time of the year. We're all looking for something to do for our children. And, you know, I would say, unfortunately, in the urban communities, the things that we tend to do most often with our kids is put them in a sports program. You know, we send them out there for Pop Warner, Little League Baseball, etc. And we don't take advantage of the opportunities to help challenge our children, to help them continue to grow and develop their mental capacity. So let's talk a little bit about the summer camp that you're popping off this year.
Sure. So we partnered with Rutgers Newark. They're going to provide space for us at the Paul Robeson Center from Monday, August 21st to Friday, September 1st from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. We're going to have a 2-week day camp. We're going to have one group of students for 1 week and another group of students for another week. The second week, we're going to play chess with the students in the morning, and then have an educational activity and a fun activity in the afternoon. We're going to provide breakfast and lunch for all of the students for free, and we're going to take both groups of students on a day-long field trip, either to Washington, D.C. or to New York City, to have some fun and to engage in chess in some way. So that's our contribution.
Tompkins Square Park and Washington Square Park and all those great places, Union Square where I used to play as a kid, man. Those great places for them to watch those masters play.
Absolutely, yeah. Absolutely. So we're looking forward to having as many kids as we possibly can.
So when does registration start?
Registration will start next month, which is in 2 days. So we're going to start registration June 1st. For students.
Is there a fee?
There is no fee. We've been fundraising to make the camp free for any of the participants. We just ended a month-long fundraiser on Facebook. Well, we raised about $10,000 for the camp. That will allow us, because some folks donated offline, some folks donated online. So we raised about $10,000. That will allow us to host 20 students.
Now, has that fundraising effort ended, or are you still raising?
It's ended on Facebook, but you can still donate to.
You got a GoFundMe page or something, man?
Well, we have a donate page on our website. Our website is newarkchessclub.com, and if you go to newarkchessclub.com/donate, then you can donate to the chess camp and to the initiative. All the initiatives that we have going throughout the whole year.
And what is it again? Because I'm going to pull it up and post it.
Sure, it's newarkchessclub.com.
And we're going into a break. We'll be right back.
Flash Radio 94.3. Reggae, dance hall, soca, hip hop and R&B, African,
we were talking about, right?
Disco. Oldies but goodies.
Hi, this is Janet Jackson.
We're bridging the gap. Seriously. Splash Radio 94.3 New Jersey.
Are you looking for real Jamaican cooking? Look no further than the real, authentic, and bona fide spot in Newark, New Jersey. Star's Pressure Pot Restaurant. At 347 Sanford Avenue, serving the best curry goat, oxtail, steamed fish, jerk curry, fried, and brown stew chicken. Call today, 973-350-6657. There's always a special at Star's Pressure Pot Restaurant. Stew Beef Tuesdays, Stew Peas Wednesday, Cowfoot Thursdays, Seafood and Fish Fry Fridays, Saturdays it's Portland Jamaican style jerk. You name it. Star's Pressure Pot Restaurant is open every day, Monday to Thursday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m., Friday and Saturdays till 10 p.m. And check out early Sundays, noon to midnight with all your favorite games. There's a live broadcast every Sunday at Star's Pressure Pot Restaurant with all your favorite DJs. Catering and delivery, call today, 973-350-6657, or check them on the web at starspressurepot.restaurant.com. It's always a good day at Star's Pressure Pot Restaurant.
Because everything's free.
We know that when it comes to your vehicle maintenance, you've got a lot of options. In fact, with so many options, it can be challenging sometimes to find a reliable and affordable auto mechanic. But that's where we come in, Belmont Motor Works, with a commitment to providing our customers with honest, quality service at reasonable prices. Belmont Motor Works has one of the most modern, state-of-the-art automotive service and repair facility in the entire state of New Jersey. Our technology, education, and expertise will provide you with the best car care service imaginable. For an appointment, dial 973-268-8199. Right now, get a check engine light diagnostic and always change your tune-up. Brakes are just a performance upgrade. Belmont Motor Works got it covered. We're your one-stop shop, the European specialist, specializing in BMW, Mercedes-Benz, Range Rover, all luxury and high-performance vehicle. 973-268-8199. We also install engines, transmissions, starters, alternators, timing belts, water pumps, and so much more. Trust the trusted Belmont Motor Works, conveniently located at 531 Central Avenue in Newark, New Jersey, and find us on the web at www.belmontmotorworks.com.
Well, I don't know, so me Mr. J represent for 94.3 FM Splash Radio. We just splash out the music on them.
Hey, we're back. This is Eric Dawson. This is the Eric Dawson Radio Show, 94.3 FM. There we go. Now, there we go. And we're still back talking about the chess club, the Newark Chess Club.
Yes.
Okay.
Newark Chess Club.
And we were asked a question about the expense or the cost per attendee.
The cost per attendee is $500 per student, because we pay for everything: breakfast, lunch, materials, administration, T-shirts, chessboards, camp counselors, trips. The students and their families, we'd like for them to come out of the pocket for zero.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I'm hoping is that as a result of the show, that at least our listeners, visit your donate page on your website and make contributions. If it's $500 per student, you got $10,000. That means, what do you say, 20 students, right? So, and so that's set now. Or if you got an influx, let's say you got another $5,000, does that mean that you would bring another 10 students on?
Absolutely. Our capacity is about 80 students, so we're looking for funding for 80 students.
So that's 100 people giving $50. That gives us our $5,000.
That's all we need.
100 people giving $50. Let's make it happen.
Awesome. Thank you very much. We really appreciate that. I just want to real quickly shout out my board, my advisory board, and all of the chess instructors that work with us to make this program happen, and say thank you very much for your help and your support in what we do. It truly is a labor of love for all of us. No one does this full time.
And we'll take one last question. We have a comment in the thread on Facebook from Abdul Rashid. He asks, how do you approach or teach cynicism within the attribute of chess to mimic life situations? I think we kind of touched on that a little bit, but I don't know if he's kind of hinting at whether or not you are using any like any type of simulation or anything when students are playing.
Normally what we do when students are playing, we'll focus on one of the life skills for that day, and we will ask the students and the mentors to talk about, so say, for example, the word of the day is trust. We'll have a conversation about trust. We'll talk about how trust is trusting your instincts is relevant in chess and how it's relevant in life, and then we'll think about and talk about and focus on those concepts after the conversation during our chess game. And we attempt to talk about how trusting your instincts will have an effect in your life, whether positive or negative, during the chess game. And so that's currently how we do that.
And I think it's also important to understand when we talk about our trust in our instincts, we're creatures of habit. So when you start talking about your instincts, we naturally react off things based off of information that we've already downloaded and digested about certain situations. So if we're looking at playing an opponent in chess, you've already focused on some of their behaviors. So your trust, as it pertains to your instincts, there's also an element of observation that takes place in terms of you downloading the behaviors of that individual. And the same thing goes on in real life situations. We trust our instincts, and our instincts speak to us oftentimes based off of prior experiences that we've had and how we've downloaded and interpreted that information. So
I agree. Absolutely.
Well, so now I just want to be clear, because Deborah Mapson was the one who asked the question for clarification on the cost. So if a person simply wants to sponsor, it would be a $500 check, and that would put one more student in?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yes.
So that's what it is. So if you want to sponsor a kid, you can go to the page, you can donate $500, and you can be certain that they're going to increase their roll by one more student.
Absolutely.
And the North Chess Club is a non-profit 501c3,
yes,
which means your donations are tax deductible, right?
Yes, your donations are tax deductible. Whatever you donate, you can deduct from your total taxable income at the end of the year.
All right, so not only is it a great initiative that's benefiting our children, but you also get the tax benefit that goes along with giving and supporting the program as well. So again, we're here today. We have Darryl Scipio, founder of the North Chess Club. The North Chess Club will be hosting its 4th annual Amiri Baraka Memorial Chess Tournament on Saturday, June 10th, 2017 at the Marion Bolden Student Center in Newark, New Jersey, located on Broad Street. And that starts at 12 p.m. on June 10th, 2017. We obviously need support. Donations are welcome. You can find out more information about the organization at the NewarkChessClub.com.
Yes, it's NewarkChessClub.com. Thank you.
All right. So I don't have my normal drop, so we're going to play this drop. When we come back, we're going to continue this conversation. Thank you for joining us, brother.
Thank you for having me. Much appreciation.
Splash, 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 splash them up, splash them up, splash them up, splash them up.
Thank you guys, really, really appreciate it.
So a lot of good feedback.
So this is Eric Dawson. I'm back, and Rashon will be back on the mic in a minute. But listen, I want you guys to please go to that website. Thank you very much, brother. Visit the website, donate. I think a couple things can happen if we do this right. One, we donate to a great cause, but the second thing we begin to do is show that this platform is actually reaching people that are not just passively engaged, but it's reaching people who are prepared to be active once they have information. So now you have some information about an amazing program that is going on, and you have an opportunity to act, right? A lot of times in our communities, what we say is, we didn't know. Well, now you know. And not only do you know, but what I'd like you to do is take a couple seconds and hit share to this broadcast, and then the link that I posted in here to the North Chess Club, share that on your page as well, and try to get folks, encourage them to donate. Hello, caller. Please turn your radio down.
Hey, Eric, this is Sidney.
Hello.
Hey, Eric, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
All right, this is Sidney.
Oh, okay. So now we have Sidney Barnes on. So how you doing, brother?
Brother, I'm doing well, man. I just want to say thank you for your support and all that you do. I really appreciate it.
Now your phone line is breaking up, and I want to make sure that people hear you clearly in terms of what it is that you're doing.
Okay, what about now? Can you hear me?
That's a lot clearer.
Okay, yep.
So yesterday I mentioned that I have 4 tickets that were donated to us, and the value of those tickets are about $50 a piece for a father-daughter dance that is that's going to take place in October, I believe it is.
Yes, it's in October. It's in October, and it's beautiful because the tickets are actually the $65 tickets. What you are speaking of is the special, and every dime, every penny of this event goes to a nonprofit organization. And the benefit of this event is so wonderful because the father and daughter dance, it brings such an important piece to people who get a chance to show the love and support to the daughter or to the father. And there are so many games, there's just so much fun that we're going to have at this event, eating, and from the time you get there to the time you leave, you're just going to have an amazing time. And this event was inspired because I went to a father and daughter dance with Will Downing and Ed Gordon probably about 6-7 years ago, and I was so taken back by how much fun it was and love it had that I decided to one day do it myself. But I
I said, you know what, I'm not going to benefit from it as far as financial. I want to make sure that others get a chance to appreciate what I had a chance to appreciate with my granddaughter and my daughter. So the tickets, there's a special. If they buy the tickets by a certain time, the tickets are reduced. Then after that, the tickets go back up to $65. And the event is going to be taking place at El Casa Sol in Union, New Jersey.
That's excellent. So now I have 4 tickets that people can call in for, and between now and in October, and those tickets were donated again by you, and I appreciate that generosity. But for folks who want to get tickets, how do they reach you?
Okay, the best way, if you want to get tickets, you can go on to Eventbrite, and Eventbrite you can put in, I'll get the rest of the information, I'll send it to you.
Well, do me a favor, just do this. Go into the thread of this broadcast on Facebook and post that link there so that people can access it.
I'll do that. I'll do that. And also, too, on the flyer that I gave you, there's contact information as well. There's contact information as well if they want to reach out, and we'll be able to give them more information on that. But I'll definitely put that in the thread, and I really would like to see a big turnout, because the foundation that we're supporting, run by Tina Thomas, is so beautiful, because she's doing so much for the community, and she wants to do so much more. So when myself and Dosage Bodywork and Massage, we got together, we said, hey, listen, let's sponsor this, and let's make this a big event, because we want to make sure that not only do people have a great time at the event, but we want to make sure that the nonprofit gets what it deserves, so that it can continue to go out and help the community and do the great things that she's doing.
Right. So what I want to do is also either get you in the studio. We got to get a little 30-second commercial done that we can air, every day during the show, and even when I'm not on the show, we'll just air it on the station, so that we can create greater awareness to the event as well.
That's awesome. I appreciate that. I definitely appreciate the support. And like I said, it's for community-based, and it's for love, to make sure that I would love to see the the fathers and the daughters come out and just have a great time. So I look forward to that, Eric, for sure.
Beautiful. And could you say for one more time how is the event listed on Eventbrite?
I have to find out, because I didn't put it up there. We have someone on the committee who put it on there, but I think it's the Eventbrite Father and Daughter Dance in October 28th, but I really don't know. I haven't been on there. Okay. I haven't been on there, but I'm going to definitely look into that right away, and I'll send that onto this conversation.
Yeah, I just found it on Eventbrite, so I'm going to go ahead and put that in the thread for today. So I'll go ahead and post that for you.
Awesome, man. I appreciate that. Well, appreciate you. That's what we should say. Appreciate you.
No, that's what we're here for, brother. Thank you so much for all you do in the community.
Eric, thank you so much. And
you know what? Wait a minute. And since I have you on the line, right? Because you and I talked about something else, and I want to. I mean, I know this is all for the education stuff, and we'll be back on it in a second, Rashon. But Sidney is also an entrepreneur. He has his own business, and one of the things that I want to leverage this platform to do is to promote minority businesses in our community. So take a few seconds, Sid, and talk about what your business is.
Wow, that's awesome. My company is newhall.com, and I have a demolition and junk removal landscaping design company. And we are licensed by the state of New Jersey to do everything that we do. We demolish interior and exterior of anything, commercial, residential property, and we're licensed to remove junk from anywhere in New Jersey. And we have landscaping design. We actually design the landscaping structure of your house. The way that your front of your house can look. So we have those three things that we offer, and we're located in Irvington, New Jersey. And if you want to find us, we're at newhall.com, which everybody should be able to go on and look. And our phone number is 201-618-8639. That's how you find us.
So for all the people, and I'm not saying that you don't go to 1-800-GOT-JUNK or whatever that is, right? But you do what they do. And you're a minority-owned business, and you're in the community.
Oh yeah, I do more than what they do. They charge a lot more than I do, but I do the same. Whatever they can do, I can do, and I can do better.
There we go. That's it. Thank you so much, brother. I appreciate you.
Hey, thank you, and we appreciate you. So remember that.
All right, brother. So listen, man. There are people doing great things in the community, and this chess program, Rashon, I think. Look, well, firstly, I want to say to the listeners, please go and donate. We already have, Sydney came in the thread and said that he's going to donate $100. It would be nice to be able to look in this thread by the end of the show and see that we've got a commitment to at least $2,000.
Yeah, definitely.
Right? That would send 4 kids. So, it doesn't take much, right? But see if we can get a commitment to $2,000. Whatever you donate, we'll add it all up, and then we'll certainly let the brother know that he could be looking forward to these contributions coming to his page. But the work that chess can do in a person's life, I'm a living testimony to it. And that's why when he started talking, man, I lit up, because I can tell you, and anybody who knows me, they will tell you that I govern my life, a large part of it, by, those 64 squares on chessboard.
Definitely, man. It's very important. My son Jordan, he's 6. We play chess. Yeah. We got to start him early.
So and it teaches discipline, it teaches patience, and in the biggest way, one of the other things, it teaches you how to it teaches you dependency, and not dependency in a bad way, right? But it teaches you how to he said it, trust. That's the word, not dependency, trust. You got to trust that one piece over here is going to do its job and protect the piece over here. Right, and that they're going to work in unison toward a common goal. See, if you had all your chess pieces, all 16 of your chess pieces that were operating independently,
yeah,
right, then you would surely suffer defeat. But the fact that you can bring them in harmony, right, and to move in one accord, recognizing again that some things have to be sacrificed for the betterment of other things, right? But like he said also, it's a game of integrity. I love it. I love it. And we should all be supporting it. And I think it should be a part of a curriculum.
Well, what's very important about this is when we step back and now we make that correlation to our real lives. It's amazing how many people are out here in the world playing checkers when everybody else is playing chess.
Well, listen, man. I don't. Yeah, there are a whole lot of people playing checkers, and there's some people who don't even know how to play checkers. There's some people who just staring at a blank board, man, or the pieces are on the board and they don't know how to move them. They don't know the rules that govern how they get moved, and so they're making a mess out of things. So I don't know. I mean, we started this show talking about integrity, right? Talking about following rules and regulations and policies and those kinds of things. And so it was very interesting to have the brother come in and talk about a game that actually depends on all of those things in order for you to be successful. And now you scratch your head if you want to parallel the two things, and you say, well, maybe part of the reason we're not seeing the level of success that many of us are hoping to see is because there's such disorder.
Yeah.
There's no harmony. There's no integrity. There's no following of rules. There's anarchy.
Yeah.
And we have to get these things back in order. People can't, and this is what that game teaches you too. You can't just sit down at that board and decide you're going to make your own rules up.
You can't. You cannot. The rules are universal. They apply to everybody who sits down and wants to play that game. And again, there's no selective moral code or values. when you sit down and you play that game. You should act with integrity, and those skills should transfer into your life. And we get back to that situation that we talked about earlier with the appointments for the Newark Board of Education. Those rules, that's a universal policy that everybody has to follow when they serve on that board. There's no, again, no selective moral code. There's no selective set of values that you can turn on and off. That has to be present.
When the board members are elected, right, and when they're inaugurated, do they take an oath?
Yes.
And what is the oath?
I'll pull that oath up for you. But there is an oath that every board member actually takes. Let me just find it.
Yeah, because we want you to understand that, you know, people are, you know, they're saying one thing, they're doing another thing, and at the end of the day, like I said to you, you know, I there's enough blame to go around. There's just enough to go around. There's the blame to the,
yeah. So the oath is, I, such and such, do solemnly swear or affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of New Jersey, and I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same and to the governments established in the United States and this state under the authority of the people, so help me God. I, such and such, do solemnly swear that I possess the qualifications prescribed by law for the office of member of a Board of Education, and that I am not disqualified as a voter pursuant to RS 19-4-1 or disqualified due to conviction of a crime or offense listed in New Jersey Statute 18A. So it really doesn't get into any of the other stuff.
And I wish they would change that word qualification to I meet the standards.
Yeah, and I think that's something that, you know, we talked about this earlier, right? What makes you eligible to serve on a board? You just need 10 signatures. You need to be a registered voter. Of voting age. You don't have to be registered. You just have to be of voting age. You can't have any cannot have been convicted of any criminal offense or felonies, and you have to get 10 signatures. 10 signatures. And I said this before. I can get 10 signatures sitting around the dining room table on Sunday at my mother's house. You know, she invites us over for dinner.
Well, you got to get 10 signatures
of registered voters to get on the ballot. That's
right.
it.
But then you got to suck up to political bosses to actually get elected. I mean, you know, you got to be a good, you know, person who sucks up to be able to do that. At least in the current climate, you have to do so. It requires, you know, so there's some skills, none that I'm interested in possessing, but there certainly are some skillful folks out there because they've been elected multiple times, so they've been really good at sucking up. Call it.
Good morning, Eric. It's Dave. How are you?
Hey, Dave.
What's going on, brother?
Hey, man.
Everything, all right?
You know, yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can probably see it in my demeanor on Facebook and hear in my voice. You know, they wear me down, Dave. They wear me down, but you know, I just need to get re-energized. You know, but I do get worn down.
You were energized earlier. I'll tell you that right now. I never saw you like that, but way to go. I don't know if you saw my post on your thread. And I'm not even watching the show at this moment because I needed to go back to something that you posted yesterday. Marquise Akil Lewis, is he the chairman of the Board of Education?
Yes, he is.
Oh, okay. I on my post that I put on your thing, on your thread today, I don't know how many people paid attention to that post. But I wish they would go back and read it. And read Marquise's English. This is the president of the Board of Education in Newark. I'm not going to mention any other names in the comment, but I couldn't believe his command of the English language. He couldn't pass a third grade English test. Somebody else made a statement to him, and his response was, I will repeat me statement, I made it next. Me, I will repeat me statement, I made it next. Now this is the president of the Board of Education is educating the kids in school. Later on somebody made another remark in that same thread, and he said, I will repeat me statement, I made it next. I will repeat me statement, I made it next. And then there was another spot in there where he said, my don't do social media, my number is very public. Where are we going with this?
So here's
this honest to God can't be real.
But you're 100% right. But here's the thing, right? And I don't know if you saw, I posted a comment and I called him illiterate, and someone came in and criticized me for doing that. And I said to them, I said, well, look, you go and with a fine-tooth comb and criticize President Trump, every tweet, every misspelling, the grammar, and we see it play itself out on the national stage, where national media criticizes times when the president is not grammatically correct in the things that he puts up on Twitter, or his staff for that matter. And so I said, well, how do you skip over what your local officials do and you jump right to Washington? I said, you gotta, if that's going to be a standard, it's got to be a standard across the board. But it's because of the personal relationships, David, that some of these folks have with these elected officials, that they're willing to tolerate it. But they really don't understand how it looks, right? How we're perceived outside of Newark. I mean, Newark doesn't live in a bubble. Newark depends on state funds. Newark depends on other communities around it, but we act like we live in a bubble. And there are people who are looking at the decision that the voters made. I mean, we can have the conversation about Marquise Lewis, but you have to also talk about the decision that the voters made, where they said, for a second term, we should elect that guy. And there was no and you know why he became president of the board? Because when he was vice president, there was no outrage. And so folks said, you know what, they were emboldened by the fact that the community wasn't outraged that he became vice president. They said, what the hell, we'll make him president now. Nobody gives a damn. And so now he's president, and nobody came out. There was no outrage about that. And now, look at the decisions that he's making. There's no outrage about that. Hell, I mean, so I don't know where in the city of Newark a guy like Marquise Lewis's political career may wind up going. I mean, people, the standards are low in terms of what people are willing to accept, is what I'm getting at.
Right, and extremely low. And going back to my original question, and I would like the citizens of Newark that are paying attention to me right now and that are listening on your program. First of all, I want to stress, you people need to listen to Eric more and listen to what he has to say. And second of all, look at what you're electing to the board. You're electing to the board somebody that couldn't pass a 4th grade grammar test. I mean, it's scary. It's really scary. No wonder they're having the problems they're having down in Newark. No wonder the state took over. And the state needs to stay there. I mean, here's a guy that says, I don't do social media. My number is very public. I don't do social media. And then one of your listeners responded, he does not do social media, but he's all over this post. You know what? I'm glad he was all over the post, so the people in Newark see exactly who they elected and exactly what kind of guy this guy Mr. Lewis is. And I challenge him, if he listens to your show or any of his friends or his political buddies are listening to your show, I challenge you to put in front of him at the next board meeting a 4th grade English test and see if he passes it, and let him fill it out in front of everybody, and let one of the teachers grade it.
I would love that. I would love that. I would look. I have it on high authority that Mr. Lewis is barely reading at a 6th grade reading level. And I've challenged Mr. Lewis. I've got a series of books that I bring in every day to the studio that are about 6th grade and I would challenge him to come in and sit and just read a paragraph or two, so he can prove me wrong. I would love him to be able to prove me wrong, but I doubt that Mr. Lewis will do that, and I doubt that he'll take the test. But thanks for the call, Dave.
Okay, Eric, take care.
You too.
See you. Bye-bye.
So, and look, it is going to bear itself out over the next year that Marquise Lewis is the wrong person to be the chairman of the North Board of Education. It's going to bear itself out. Mark my words, that Reggie Bledsoe is the wrong person to chair that all-important committee. The question that I'm going to ask you all who are supporting these guys, to what degree are you willing to support them as you watch the detriment? I want to know, like, where's the line going to be? Where's the line going to be? Or is it that, you're going to support him no matter what? Or you're going to support the two of them no matter what? It's like Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy.
This is the question. We see this kind of decision making. I always go back to that critical question. What's your vested interest? Would you make a decision like this to have an inexperienced person lead one of the most important committee if your child was enrolled in these schools? If this person was put in position to lead the district or the board, for that matter, and making the most important decisions that are going to impact the lives of children. We're talking about instruction. We're talking about programming. We need qualified individuals that can help us right this wrong, help us change our course and chart a new path.
But when you get people, and I just got to call names, right? So when Marquise Lewis ran the second time, and I said he was unqualified, I got folks, including, a former board member. I don't know that he ever served as president of the board, but I know he was a board member. This is Altari Kinney, who argued with me on social media that Marquise Lewis was qualified. So when you have, in the midst of the community, pseudo-intellectuals who are willing to defend mediocrity, you see, it increases the challenge of trying to educate the uneducated. Because now they look, the fact that this young man served on the Board of Education, he now comes and says, as a former board member, I'm going to tell you that Marquise Lewis is qualified. And I'm saying to him, well, let's have an honest and intellectual debate about this. Tell me what things uniquely qualify him. And he wouldn't go into that, but he was leaning on the fact that he was a former board member and that it was his recommendation that Marquise Lewis was qualified. Now, that same person, I say, well, come out now and talk about the decision that Marquise made. You see, you endorsed him, you co-signed this nonsense, now come on out and say something. But they don't. And that's where things, for me, get frustrating. Because if you're going to be there in the beginning, be there in the end. So as you're watching these decisions being made, don't shuffle your feet. Come and speak out. Be as bold as you were when you canvassed with him or when you put your face on his literature or you did all this. Come out and say, I thought that was a great decision and this is why. Or if you didn't, say you didn't think it was a great decision.
Well, that doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
We know it doesn't happen for a number of reasons. One is because there's just a huge lack of accountability. Just as we hold individuals accountable who make the bad decisions, we also have to hold the individuals accountable who help support those people. And that just doesn't happen enough in our community. I'm very unfortunate. We are so forgiving. We give out 1 million passes when individuals go out and they make poor decisions. And if we are expecting to have any changes in our educational system,
you're too kind,
we have to drive the accountability.
You're too kind. You say that we're forgiving. I say that we're saps. That's what I'm going to say, that we're saps, right? That somebody comes with a little violin and a song and a dance and a oh me, oh my, But we have to have hard, truthful conversations. And those conversations are uncomfortable conversations. And we have to call people. We can't say, he didn't tell the truth. No, you lie. You're a liar. You're a fraud. You're fake. We got to say those things. It's important. And I harken back to early shows that I did where I said to folks, look, I'm not going to tell somebody who I know is an alcoholic. I'm not going to say, you're a social drinker. You need to really stop. No, I'm going to tell them, you're an alcoholic. You're about to lose your family. You're about to lose your home. Things are dire right now. If you don't change the course of your life and the decisions that you make, you're going down a hellhole. And I'm saying to the voters in Newark that if you don't change the way you think, Newark will continue to spiral down a hellhole while a very few, benefit. And that's just the reality of the situation. And so I'm deeply concerned. And I said this too, Rashon. I pray to God that whoever the next governor is listens to the show. I've had quite a few of them on, the candidates on. And I've expressed to them privately my concerns about the decisions made by the electorate and by the, by the leadership in the city of Newark regarding education. And I said, they don't value it. There's no value for education. And so why return local control to people who are just going to destroy it again, and the state's going to have to come in and take it over again?
Well, local control, in my opinion, is looked at through the wrong lens. Local control that's not the ultimate goal. To me, that's just a vehicle for us that allows us to have local authority in the process of re-engineering our educational system. When we have conversations with people, we say, well, what do we need here in Newark, to move things forward, to fix the school districts for our children? I don't hear any conversation about, revamping curriculums. I don't hear any conversation.
Well, we are having it now, right? So revamping curriculum with Reggie Bledsoe at the helm.
No, so that's not a realistic conversation, Eric.
Wait, but
that's not even a realistic conversation.
No. But the chairman made it very real, didn't he? He made it very real. He said exactly what you said. You know what? The important thing is not local control. The important thing is that we re-engineer our schools, starting with programming and curriculum. I believe that we need to remove this talented person and replace him with a liar and a fraud who has no experience. Right? And that's going to get us to the promised land.
Well, we can't accept that, because before we even get to the conversation of this man not having the experience, we should be slamming the door on this action because it was taken without proper authority. It was made without proper authority by the president or chairman of the Newark Board of Education, because the authority to elect, to appoint anybody to serve as committee chairperson does not rest with the president or chair of the board. That power and that authority rests with the body of non-board members, or with those individuals who are actually appointed to serve on the committee. And it's clearly stated in the policy. So before we get to that conversation about this person's qualification, we shouldn't even be talking about it, because we shouldn't be allowing anybody to bypass any policies that are currently in place and that exist for us to govern our school district. Period.
Who's the we?
Who's the we? The community.
Furthermore,
the board members who are actually serving in that space as well. It's no reason. There's 8 other board members who serve in that space, and whether a board member felt that Miss Owens should have been removed or what have you, at a bare minimum, you should be speaking out against the fact that the current president took this action to appoint a chairperson to a committee when he does not have the authority to do so.
You know what the outrage is? I just went to the page where the petition page. 73 people. That's the outrage. 73 people. So that's the community that's outraged, that cares about education. That's the community that wants local control, that's willing to give up a superstar as the chairperson of the program and instruction committee. for somebody who's a liar and a fraud and lacks character. That's what you're willing to do. And only 73 people. So we say the community, man, I can't even hear it anymore. I'm telling you, I'm dumbfounded by this. But, you know, it's where we are. Yeah. You know, it's where we are. So listen, this is what I want to do. I have a little budget, and I'm looking for an intern, because I think that the next step is you all need to be able to see the buffoonery that takes place at the Board of Education meetings. I am willing to pay an intern $50 per board meeting, and what I need you to be able to do is go down and just Facebook Live it. I'll set you up. You'll have the account and everything to be able to go down. But inbox me if you're interested, or if you know somebody who's interested. It'll be $50 per board meeting. Right? We'll meet up. I'll give you everything that you need to be able to set it up, and so that the community can actually see it. So when we're having these conversations, right, we can actually reference what's taking place at the board meeting, and you can see. Because I would hope that would be pressure that would cause them to be more professional. I just don't think they have the skill set.
Yeah. Well, the fact of the matter is, Eric, we need real-time information coming from our board. You know, this is a huge public entity. It's the third largest employer in the city of Newark, and obviously controls a $1.2 billion budget. I don't think that we can afford to allow 2 weeks to go by from the time that a board meeting is recorded, then edited, and put up on a local government channel. We need to have that information real time so that community members can be engaged and actually see what's taking place with the Newark Board of Education.
And I agree with you. I agree with you. So, you know, $50, guys. $50 per board meeting is what the Eric Dawson radio show has in its budget. So that's how many board meetings per month?
It's two. So you have the business meeting that I believe takes place on the third Tuesday, and the general board meeting, which takes place, I believe, on the fourth Tuesday of the month.
All right, so that's $100. That's $100 a month.
Yeah.
Right, tax free, cash, pay cash. So it's $100 a month for a couple hours worth of work, and you're just kind of sitting there and recording, and so you could read a book or do your homework if you're a college student and make an extra $100. And at the end of the year, that's $1,200. Pretty great, right? That's $1,200. So
it's a little bit of change.
It's a nice little bit of change. So
high school student, you know, somebody looks to have a little extra money in their pocket.
So that's what the Eric Dawson radio show has in its budget, and hopefully we can find somebody who is willing and able to do it, and then we'll be able to bring the board meetings. We'll be able to broadcast them live, and then tune in as a community, and then when we do our shows, we'll be able to unpack what it is that you see, because this is crucial. It's critical. It's critical.
Yeah. So you talked earlier. You asked me about the oath that board members take. But I want to, share something and read this out for you, Eric, and for our listeners. There's a code of ethics that school board members are supposed to abide by, and I'll read this to you. One is, I will uphold and enforce all laws, rules, and regulations of the State Board of Education and court orders pertaining to schools. Desired changes shall be brought about only through legal and ethical procedures. I will make decisions in terms of the educational welfare of children and will seek to develop and maintain public schools that meet the individual needs of all children, regardless of their ability, race, creed, sex, or social standing. I would confine my board action to policy making, planning, and appraisal, and I will help to frame policies and plans only after the board has consulted those who will be affected by them. I will carry out my responsibility not to administer the schools, but together with my fellow board members to see that they are run well. I will recognize that authority rests with the Board of Education and will make no personal promises, nor take any private action that may compromise the board. I will refuse to surrender my independent judgment to special interests or partisan political groups, or to use the schools for personal gain or for the gain of friends. I will hold confidential all matters pertaining to the schools which, if disclosed, would needlessly injure individuals or the schools. In all other matters, I will provide accurate information and, in concert with my fellow board members, interpret to the staff the aspirations of the community for its schools. I will vote to appoint the best qualified person available after consideration of the recommendation of the Chief Administrative Officer. I will support and protect school personnel in proper performance of their duties, and I will refer all complaints to the Chief Administrative Officer and will act on the complaints at public meetings only after failure of an administrative solution. So that's the code of ethics that school board members are supposed to be following.
Right. And so what I'm going to say to you is this. None of them right now are ethical. None of them, they are all in violation, right? None of them are truthful and honest with the electorate. None of them. You have, see, listen, and I got to keep starting here, right? We can't ignore this. There are 8 board members right now. Can you go look on the website and see whether or not they put the bios up yet?
Please. No, they haven't. I looked this morning.
Okay. So you got 8 board members who now know that Reggie Bledsoe is a liar. They know it. And not one of them, would it be unethical, Rashon, for a board member to publicly what I'm going to ask you a question. What can a board member do that would fall under the umbrella of maintaining the ethics code and such, but addressing Reggie Bledsoe and the fact that he lied?
I mean, any board member can do that. We had the example of a few months ago where the member of the Plainfield Board of Education actually wrote that blog or that op-ed piece about fellow board members sabotaging the meetings and not showing up so that they didn't have enough people there to actually have a quorum to start the meeting. So again, as it just stated, you don't lose your individuality, right? Okay. But again, you cannot go out and make actions on behalf of the entire...
So then what I'm going to say is, every board member from now on, right now, you lack credibility. You lack credibility with me. And for you guys who are listening to the show, your standards should be higher. And they should have zero credibility with you until such time that they're willing to acknowledge this truth that Reggie Bledsoe is a liar. That he ran a fraudulent campaign and that he does not have a degree from Montclair State University. Now, see, anything else that you say, like I remember when we were growing up, my parents would say, all you have is your word. Right? Once you lie, you're a liar. Once you lie, you are a liar. And so the board members, the 8 board members, have made a conscious decision to aid and abet a liar. That's what they've decided to do. I want you to understand it. See, we're not mincing words here. We're speaking truth, right? They have decided, right now, they've circled the wagons for whatever it's worth to them. And this is why I don't pity any of them for getting the ass whipping that they may get from some politicians. Because when it suits them, they do what's politically expedient. And so in this instance, and I haven't figured it out yet, but like I told you, life's like a chessboard to me, so I'm trying to understand the moves. Why won't a board member call Reggie a liar? Why won't the board member come out and say that Reggie Bledsoe does not have a degree? Why have they decided to circle the wagons? What is it that they want that has nothing to do with what the community deserves?
And what is the internal pressure?
That's what I'm getting at.
But even if you're not stepping out and you're having these conversations in the public domain, there should be so much internal pressure when these people show up for board meetings, when people come for their committee meetings. There should be constant pressure for individuals to step up and do what's right if they're in the wrong.
Know what I'm going to do? This is what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to put the pressure on my intern to do it. But I'm going to do one of those posters like they did with Cammie and Chris Christie. I'm going to do a poster with Reggie. And across his forehead, because it's the truth, it's going to say liar. That's what I'm going to do.
because it is the truth. If it was good enough to do that, and the community rallied around it when we were calling Cammy a liar, if it was good enough and truthful for the community to rally around it when we call Chris Christie a liar, then why isn't it acceptable to do it now that we know that Reggie Bledsoe is a liar? See, this is the hypocrisy, guys. So I want to understand why you all won't march that, will you? Maybe you will. Maybe you'll march down Broad Street with me on my way to Cedar Street carrying that. But watch how many people run away from it. And then I'm going to have to ask you, well, why are you going to run away from it? If the idea is, if the precedent is set that whenever we identify a liar in our community or amongst us, whenever we do that, that we put these posters together that have liar blazing across the forehead, dripping down like blood, if it's good enough for these guys, then it should be good enough for Reggie Bledsoe. See, we need to get serious about it. We really do. We need to get serious about this whole education thing, guys.
Accountability.
It is accountability, Rashon. But when you fully internalize the connectivity between the failed school and the unemployability of the people in our community, the high crime rate, all of those other things, how can you not be angered?
Yeah. But then we also have to start asking that other critical question. There are a number of people who are highly qualified and have skill sets to serve on this board. And when you have conversations with some of these people, they do not want to step into this space and deal with the nonsense that we're talking about today. And we need people to be able to step up. But Eric, when you see how this stuff unfolds, you see that there's no accountability, you see you have individuals who just violate policy, there's no backlash, there's no repercussions for these things.
Right. But you know what? But so this is what I'll say.
Somebody needs to make the sacrifice. I get that, Eric. But again, that's a real conversation that people were having about why they don't step up.
I'm not going to say that anybody needs to make any damn sacrifice. What I'm going to say is this. On this side, you have a few punk-ass politicians. That's what you have. A few punk-ass politicians that are driving the entire thing. Over here, you got over 130,000 registered voters. You got punk-ass politicians, 130,000 registered voters. At the point that some of these voters get up off their damn knees and give a damn about the community, then they can provide the backbone and support for those people who you say want to be involved.
Well, even if you are stepping up because you have a general interest in your well-being and your welfare, you should be stepping up, because at the end of the day, these people are put in positions to represent you and to represent your interests.
Look, we talked about earlier, you talked about, people are afraid, right? People are afraid of intimidation.
You scared get a dog.
Right? And so if they're afraid, right, they're afraid because they don't have a support system that could back them up. See, when I was a kid, if there was a bully down the street, I had a big brother, right? I go get my big brother. If the dude was, and my brother would come with me and we'd handle our business. We need to have folks who can say, you know what, if these politicians are going to behave like that, I'm going to go get the community. And I'm going to bring the community here, and the community is going to open a can of whoop ass. But they can't do that because the community is silent. That is the missing piece.
The silent majority.
The community is silent, but they need to be able to. Think about the times when you were on a board, right? And you had loudmouth people, and you were making a moral decision, right? To do something that was in the best interest of the community, and a few loudmouths who were there, who bullied the few people who might have showed up, who were conscious-minded people. it would have been great for you to look out into the audience and see that you have 400 parents and community members who understood what it is you were doing, and they would have went beneath your wings. Yeah. That doesn't exist.
And it didn't, and I got my ass handed to me in that regard, because I was doing things that I knew were in the best interest of children. And to this day, there's still some people that have some conversations about those things. I had a person stand up and tell me I was wrong for supporting the school district and making a $5 million investment to purchase laptops and Chromebooks for our students to use in the classroom. And people came to board meetings and people protesting. You know what, Eric, it would have felt very good if I would have looked out in the audience and saw those people standing there, sitting and supporting me, knowing that I was doing everything in my power to help move our district forward.
Well, some of these are punk-ass people too, man, who won't come, they won't show up, they'll criticize, they'll complain that they want better, but they won't come and they won't support people who have the backbone to stand up against the establishment.
Well, and you also have to keep in mind, Eric, people have been seeing mediocrity so long. I think in some instances they don't know what progress is, and they don't know what good leadership looks like, because they're constantly faced with this mediocrity and these mediocre individuals who can't do anything. They can't keep their commitments. They make a bunch of promises and write checks that they cannot cash, and that's what's presented to the community over and over and over again. It's time for them to start seeing real leadership, individuals who are going to step up, going to take accountability for their actions. If you're wrong, say you're wrong. Figure out how to fix this thing and move forward. But do not hide behind the decision that you make and say that you've made it just because you have some power or authority, because that does not work for us.
So listen, I'm going to say again, I think you're too nice. People know when they're limping. You know when you got a foot up your ass and when you're walking funny. Right now the community is walking funny because they got a foot up their ass. You need to remove that foot, right? And you need to be about the business of bettering our community. This is Eric.
And this is Rashon.
And we're out.
Peace.
This has been the Eric Dawson Radio Show.
It's not just about Eric's opinion. It's about understanding what's really going on.
Tune in Monday through Friday, 10 o'clock a.m.
Just continuing to talk about what elected leadership is doing.
To say good afternoon. It's 12 o'clock.
I cannot tell you how we can spend me some money. And I can't once you do it, I will give it the other half, and trust me, you're able to consider